To the election now, and after not appearing in public yesterday, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, is set to deliver his first major speech of the campaign.
Now, the military bit of this will be limited to about 30,000 people. That bit will be voluntary. So the scheme overall will be compulsory, but the military bit will only be for people who volunteer to do that element of it.
Sir Keir Starmer is expected to outline his plan for economic and national and border security.
That's as the Prime Minister is fighting back after announcing his first policy pledge, which would see national service brought back for 18-year-olds, whether they like it or not.
And yesterday, Home Secretary James Cleverly told GBNews that no one will be forced into military service. And the Liberal Democrats launched the first leg of their campaign battle bus tour, with leader Ed Davey calling to kick the Tories out of office.
This election is our opportunity, our chance to kick this out-of-touch Conservative government out of office, our chance to elect great Liberal Democrat MPs to be strong local champions for their community, our chance for change in our country, our chance to get a fair deal that people so deserve. And people across the blue wall are saying they are fed up of this out-of-touch Conservative government.
Political commentator Peter Spencer joins us now. Good morning, Peter. We're just looking at Ed Davey there, the Liberal Democrat leader. He seems to have a fairly low profile, but there are some predictions that Liberal Democrats could do quite well in this general election. Were you impressed by what you just saw there? Did it look like a well-choreographed piece to you?
Reasonably good, yes. And it was gratifying to note that he managed to get the bus ready in spite of what a surprise it was to get the general election announcement. And the Liberal Democrats, I note, are being very specific. They're targeting seats in Conservative seats, which they perceive as being potentially at risk from the point of view of the Conservatives. And the chances of their getting a bit of a bounce back after what was widely seen as the disaster of the coalition with the Conservatives all those years back, I think are reasonably good, because there's very, very clear evidence of a lot of Conservative MPs being very uncertain about the Conservative Party, notably since we've had buccaneering Boris followed by loony Liz, and now we have a new leader of the party who has launched what can only be described as an extremely stuttering election campaign. In fact, I would go a little further than that. Rishi Sunak was very much on a mission to seize the agenda over the election debate, but this national service thing gives me the impression that all he really is on a one-man mission to hand power to the Labour Party.
Peter, you don't pull your punches, do you? What did you make of the national service promise made by the Conservatives? And just remind people, so the promise is national service, which would be for 30,000 18-year-olds, the opportunity to serve in the armed forces, and for other 18-year-olds, the compulsion to do some voluntary work, in inverted commas, once a month. What did you make of this pledge?
Well, I think you weren't all that struck with it, if I read that correctly, Michael. But,
I'm asking the questions this morning.
Oh, all right, then I suppose I better try and answer them. I mean, look, don't get me wrong with all this. I've got a lot of respect for Rishi Sunak. I think he played an absolute blinder as Chancellor during the COVID crisis, when he introduced a furlough scheme and saved great swathes of the population from destitution. But I think while he's pretty good doing his sums, I think he's pretty rubbish at doing politics. And, you look at this thing, first of all, there he is standing in the pouring rain looking a bit of a dork. And then he rocks up to the Titanic section of Belfast, screaming out for the question to say, well, look, are you the captain of a sinking ship? And then he comes up with this national service idea, which has been roundly derided by military chiefs and former military chiefs. And a point that hasn't emerged yet, but I'm sure will, there's going to be middle-aged mums and dads up and down the country getting their kids screaming at them, get those Tories up. I don't want to spend a year of my life marching around in horribly uncomfortable shoes being shouted at by some ghastly person.
Well, I don't think. Hang on a minute. I think it's actually he's got a good idea here. He is talking about kind of creating some sort of a mindset, a collective mindset, and getting young people, a lot of people idle on all the different platforms, you know, looking for likes and things like that. I think it's a really good idea, and my young daughter, who's 15, would probably love the idea. Seriously, why is it such a bad pledge?
Because having served in the officer training corps myself at school, I know how jolly beastly it is. I didn't enjoy 1 second of it. But I'm jolly glad to hear that your daughter is up for the idea. But I do suspect, judging by all the young people I have spoken to in the last 24 hours, that she's in a bit of a minority there, bless her little cotton socks.
Peter, I think there might be quite a lot of young people who are very happy to volunteer to work for charities and things like that. In fact, something they might do anyway. We're just coming to the end, Peter, but perhaps very quickly, have you been impressed by the way Keir Starmer has been dealing with questions asking him very precisely about Labour policies?
I mean, he's been very, very careful to be pretty unspecific, and that is
Yeah,
but he's had no choice. I mean, until he's actually, remember that famous "there is no money" thing, which gave the Labour Party so much grief years ago. Until he's actually opened the books and looked over them, he can't really be sure. But what his biggest emphasis is on economic stability, and so he's being very careful and will have to carry on being very careful not to make any unfunded promises. And I do note that the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is a former Bank of England economist, and I think that's a pretty strong card to have in your hand.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us on Bank Holiday Monday. Enjoy your day.